Hey guys, Arcade1Up. We can fault them for many things, but one thing we cannot fault them for is that, what is this? Oh, I see. Um, One thing we can't fault Arcade1Up for is that they really did help us get to one of our goals, which was to have a real arcade. Now, some of you have not reached that goal yet. You might have a lot of arcade games. Maybe it's in a room or something like that, or wherever is your designated spot. Many of you have actually turned your Arcade1Ups into arcades. So once you have a group of Arcade1Ups, and many of you do, your next step is to designate a spot, a room, an area for an official arcade. Okay, once you start designating that area, then you start realizing, oh, instead of putting that money into just another Arcade1Up, and especially with price increases, I mean, with the prices going up so much, you're going to be more careful about just throwing money at just any Arcade1Up machine. Some of you may have a Legends. I have a Legends Ultimate, an MVSX, which I love, and of course, my favorite machine of all, the II Arcade. I recommend the II Arcade for anyone who wants one machine to rule them all. I should do a video on that. One machine to rule them all, II Arcade. But I do have those, but the majority are 1-ups. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 Arcade1Ups if you count the 2 digital pinballs. So after you designate that spot, then you have to start doing things. As I said in future videos, I'm going to start talking about where else to maybe put your money at besides just buying another another Arcade1Up cabinet. You need to start making your arcade look like an arcade, okay? I will be talking about some of these things in future videos, and I actually have talked about some in past videos you can go back to also. So think about how are you going to make it look like an arcade. Okay, some of you have even wanted to take the next step after the arcade, and the next step is to actually have a man's cave. Now, it could be a woman's cave, a lady's cave. Some people, if you're trying to be progressive, you might call it a sports cave. I like the term man's cave because I'm a man and it's mine. So I get to call it what I want. Now, I could call it Arcade Will, but I kind of like just, you know, a man's cave. It could be Arcade Will's man cave. I choose the term man's cave. I didn't have a man's cave. In fact, about a year and a half ago, I didn't have anything. I had one arcade machine. And I started finding them on sale from Walmart, you know, whether it was the Space Invaders that I got for $100 or the Golden T, which I found for $200 at one point. Not all of my machines I got at the cheapest level, of course. There's some things that I paid full price for, you know, like my Marvel Superhero limited edition, that was full price. But the point is that however you got your machines, you have plenty of them now. You designate your spot. If you're going to designate that as your arcade, make it look like an arcade. Start looking at ideas and what to do about it, okay? Also, when Corvette shut down, was that about now a year, 2 year and a half now, when it originally shut down in March, and I was stuck at home, you know, I was teaching online, I decided, hey, I have a freaking basement that literally is just filled with junk. That is what I'm going to designate and turn into a full man's cave. So so future videos, I will go over my arcade stuff, but then I'll go over my man cave stuff. I'll be going back and forth between the two because some of you may want to actually make a real man's cave out of your arcade and not just an arcade. And the reason why is this. There's a lot of people out there who don't play arcade games. You decide to have a party when this whole Corvette thing is really over, or maybe you do now, I don't know, you might do it with vaccinated people, you might make with people wear masks, or maybe you just don't give a flip, who knows. But the point is that when you start to have people over, there's a lot of people who don't play arcade games. They might not like them. Then there's a lot of people who only like the classic games, like Pac-Man. You always need to have something like Pac-Man because it's iconic. There's a big group of people who they love Pac-Man, okay? Or whether it's Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Space Invaders. Those are iconic games. Okay, so you start thinking about designating an area. I watched a few modders where they're gonna buy a house, and now they're thinking, oh wow, I wanna make a man's cave in a certain part of the house. Whether it's the next house that you move into, or maybe you have kids that moved out and you've been just holding on to their room for whatever reason, nostalgic reasons, but it's time to let that room go. Turn that into your man's cave even, okay? You don't need to have 2 guest rooms, one's fine. I mean, I'm just saying, you can even do a man's cave and still have a couch that pulls out into a bed and then put it back. It's however you want to do it, but I'm gonna go over that in the future. My man's cave, I was working on it for 1.5 years, pretty much, and I started literally with one single Arcade1Up game. That's how it started. And all of a sudden, I had 4 Arcade1Up games in my kitchen. I'm like explaining to people, oh, this is gonna eventually be in a basement, this and that. So then the whole COVID shutdown, I dedicated a lot of that time that I had to putting my man's cave together. And it turned out to be a really great thing. I'll go over a lot of that, but you guys start thinking about maybe designating a little spot in your house to do that. Now, it doesn't always have to be in your house. It can also be a bay in a garage. Maybe you don't, it could be a part of your garage. It can also be a shed. If you don't have a shed, you can even get a shed and make that your man's cave. I've seen it done. It can be a room. It can be part of your basement, part of the cellar. There's lots of areas. Some people turn, depending on their circumstances, they even turn their living room as a living room and man's cave game room. So whether you call it a rec room, a game room, a man's cave, your Arcade1Up progresses to the arcade, but then you gotta then get ready to expand. Hey, it can't just be arcade, because there's a lot of people who don't play video games. But they might play the miniature basketball, they might play skee ball, or they might play pool or ping pong. There's all kind of things that you can do to turn that into a rec room, a game room, a man's cave, whatever you want to call it. So we can be mad at Arcade1Up for price increases, but we cannot be mad at them that many of us would never have had an arcade, and for me, even a man's cave, if it wasn't for their products that came out at the low end at affordable price. I don't know if I can say affordable anymore with their price increases, but think about this, guys, for your future of, hey, let me expand my thinking and not just video games, but other avenues. And since arcade games are going up so much, maybe it is time to invest in something else. You can get a ping pong table for less than the Arcade1Ups now. Easily, half the price. Many people like ping pong. I mean, you got to have the room for a ping pong table, but I'm just trying to say, where do you want to go with this? Do you want to have a real rec game room? Do you want to just keep it strictly video games? In fact, a lot of people in their arcade will put video games, like their video game systems, in their arcade. I choose not to put my video game system. I have even a Pandora box. Originally I was like, oh, maybe I'll put it in here, get something to put my Pandora box stick on, and I just decided, I'm not gonna do it. So same thing. I don't even have a PS5. I couldn't get it, and I gave up. Like, you know what? I can put my money somewhere else instead of buying more games for the PS5. I don't really need it. And a lot of the games, I don't feel they're there yet. I think that maybe this coming Christmas holiday, the games will be caught up. I didn't care if it was the new Xbox or whether it was a PS5, but I did not get either one of them, so I was able to save money there. And I don't know, I don't feel like I'm really missing out that much, which is surprising because I thought that I would be missing out. But so think about where you want to put your money, how you want to invest it. And remember, you don't have to do everything at one time. I had my Arcade1Ups in my kitchen for like 8 months. So it's just, but think about your future and where you want to go. If you think you're going to be buying a new place, you definitely want to think in advance of, will it have a space that you can turn it into a rec room or not? Because I'm going to tell you, your arcade, eventually you're going to have people come over and you're going to have some people are like, oh, well, I don't really play video games. Do you have anything else? Do you know what I'm saying? So there you go. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.